Hi, everybody, and welcome to Inside Study Abroad. My name is Brooke Roberts, and today I'm talking to Jeff Jung. He's the founder and editor of the blog Career Break Secrets. Back in 2007, Jeff basically did what I dream of doing, and I think a lot of people do. He left his job as a consultant and marketing exec to take a year-long career break to travel the world. But like most people who travel, he couldn't give it up, and so he turns his expertise in the art of career breaking into a full-fledged career. So now he creates video travel guides and advises others on how to escape the rat race and see the world. So Jeff joins us from his home now or at least for now, in Bogota, Colombia. So welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Brooke. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, let's start with my first question that I love to ask everyone. So tell me your study abroad story. How did you start this whole global obsession?
Well, my first trip overseas when I was 16 on a 6-week exchange program, there wasn't much study involved there. It was just a pure cultural exchange. But then after high school, in between college, when I was 18, I went to South Africa for a year and was an exchange student. So I basically repeated my senior year of high school, but the good news is that I was already accepted into a university, so I didn't really have to study all that much.
Ooh,
there was more broad in the study abroad in that case.
Right. Well, there's been tons of research showing in study abroad, a lot of the learning actually takes place out of the traditional classroom, so I can totally get started with that. So, did you end up studying abroad in college at all, or do you use that as sort of like that was my study abroad?
I kind of used that was my study abroad, and I worked a lot through college, so I didn't make the time as I would have liked to have. But the time that I had in between high school and college definitely tided me over, at least for a little while.
Right. Cool. And so how did your professors and friends and advisors, how did they react to the fact that you lived in South Africa for a whole year? And I'm guessing, that was maybe, during a time where there was a lot of shifting and changing politically in South Africa. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was actually, they reacted positively to it. In fact, it really helped me. I transferred college to help me get into an even better college.
Yeah.
And I attribute my study abroad experience specifically for helping me get in, because it really helped me stand out from the crowd, I think. So when I was looking to transfer, I think when I looked at my application, I had good grades, I was involved in stuff like a lot of people are, but the fact that I had the international experience, I had the year abroad, I think really helped me stand out from other applicants.
Yeah. So do you mind telling me what schools you went to? Where did you transfer from? And
yeah, I started at Angelo State University, a small liberal arts school in Western Texas.
Okay.
And then I transferred to Georgetown University to their School of Foreign Service in Washington, D.C.
Cool, very cool. I love D.C. That's a good place to go to school, yeah.
Nope.
So let's talk about Career Break Secrets. So you were working professional, banging it out every day, 9 to 5 or more probably.
Or more.
Yeah, you were a consultant, so I'm sure it was a lot more. And so what made you decide to take a career break? So where'd you go? And what about your first international experience made you confident to do that?
I was burnt out. I'd been working the career track for so long, and sort of to the detriment of my personal passions and my personal life. And so I just got to a point where there was no work-life balance. And to sort of try and reestablish that, I just felt I needed to take a break and take time out. And the thing that I really love to do is travel. And I attribute that back to the early years when I traveled overseas, and I hadn't done a ton of international travel in between that time. So I thought, this is a chance I can go, I can grab a backpack, go see the world, and do some of the things that I want to do, like learn to ski, like have time to do that, like learn Spanish, and to speak it fluently, and do those kinds of things that, for whatever reason, I just wasn't able to work in to my work life. And I think the confidence that I had in being able to just pick up and go somewhere at the age of 16 or the age of 18, by the time I was in my 30s, it was sort of like, hell, if I did that when I was, just out of high school, I can certainly do it now as an adult.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It gave me that self-confidence to just go and pop down somewhere and see what happens.
I think probably at that age, the challenges are just different now. Now that you've rooted yourself in a life, it's like, how do you let it go, or do you let it go? All these things, That's interesting.
Right.
So that sort of segues nicely to my next question. So you're now location independent, as I say, and your career is to travel, basically. And most people think that only like Anthony Bourdain or Samantha Brown get to do something like that. Call me. I would love to be a host of my own travel show too. But I guess, from you're an experienced professional, you've done the corporate career world, and now you've obviously traveled as a career and built a business and entrepreneurial for yourself. What, maybe like 3 pieces of advice would you have for others considering taking a career break and how they could make this happen for themselves?
Yeah, I think the first one is, number one, it doesn't cost as much as people think. I think people compare a career break and how they might travel, like the way they would on a vacation where they're going to stay in a hotel and maybe splurge on some nice things. When you're traveling all the time, you learn to just live more day to day and to live in hostels, to pick a spot and stay there for a while so you can maybe rent a local apartment, which will cost you, say maybe 25, 30, maybe $40 a day, depending on where you are, versus a hotel room, which is going to cost you $100, $150 a day.
Right.
So it doesn't cost so much as you think. There are some strategies you can take to stay on budget. Second, I would say a career break isn't going to kill you in terms of it isn't going to kill your career.
Right.
So a lot of people are doing it now. It's becoming more and more common. And maybe 20 years ago, I've talked to some career experts who said this was never done. You would have been seen as sort of like, what's wrong with this person? Now they look at it and go, wow, I really admire that person for doing that and taking the time. And the second thing is, a career break can be as short as a month. So a lot of people dream that, oh, I'd love to go travel the world for a year. If that isn't what your lifestyle allows, then go and take a month.
Yeah.
And go pick maybe one country. Don't try and do a ton in that month, and really immerse yourself in that one country. And that will give you a deeper experience. That'll help you stay on budget, and I think you'll learn a lot more. And then you'll figure out what this is all about, and maybe it will allow you in another year or two to maybe take a longer break.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so like I was saying before, you've had a standard corporate job. You're an entrepreneur, so now you've become, you're a sage to the younger generation, wanting to sort of follow in your footsteps. In my blog, I focus on professionals working and study abroad, but also students who have studied abroad or after the fact, what they can do to make their international experience live on in a lot of different ways. So what advice, as a seasoned professional, do you have for current college students on, making a career for themselves and basically designing a life that they love?
Yeah, I think number one, at whatever time in your life you can get the international experience, you should go for it. If you're in a position now where maybe it's not possible, don't think that you've missed out. I didn't get a chance to go backpacking right after college or take a gap year right after college like I really wanted to. So I did it in my 30s. And I know people who didn't do it in their 30s, but they did it in their 40s. They did it in their 40s, they did it in their 50s.
Right.
You've always got time. You need to make it a priority so it does happen, but you've never lost out.
Right.
So if it's something you want to do, I think you should definitely do it. And once you get out there, you find your whole world sort of opens up, whether it's the people you meet, whether it's seeing how different cultures live and different ways that things can get done in the world. That will just influence you profoundly, and maybe you won't understand how when you're in the moment. It may only be a month later, 6 months later, a year later, or longer until you kind of make those connections and go, oh, I first saw that when I was in Turkey, or I saw that when I was in Japan, or wherever it is. So definitely make it. And my final piece of advice is whatever you decide to do, have passion about it. Life is too short. There are a lot of times when we have to do jobs or take positions that it certainly isn't our dream job, but we have to do it for that short amount of time. Fine, do that. Pay your dues, take the grunt jobs you have to take, but always have in mind what the next step is, what you're passionate about, know what that is, and if you know what you're passionate about and what you want, it's much easier for you to figure out then how to achieve it than if you just sort of get
do
stuck.
what you think you have to do. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This is a great piece of advice. Cool. So you've traveled a lot. I've traveled, I feel like a lot, but you've traveled way more than I have. I would love to hear, 3 must-visit places you've traveled to around the world. That might be a little surprising.
I think the first one would be Turkey. I absolutely love Turkey. I always heard good things about it.
Turkey is like the up-and-coming study abroad destination, too. It's sort of, it used to be Prague, and now people are looking at Istanbul as like the new, it destination. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Turkey is fantastic. And I always feel funny, even though I think of Turkey sort of that way as well. If you talk to Europeans, they would be like, oh, we've been going to Turkey for years. And certain history of Turkey is so long.
Yeah.
But Turkey, I think, is a place that can really affect you, and you can really get into, and you can really connect with the people, which is important for me as I travel. I think the second one, I have to give a plug to where I'm living now, Colombia.
Yeah.
It's also another up-and-coming destination, and a lot of people are coming back here. There's a lot to see and do, whether you are an adventure traveler or more city, more museums, or whatever it is. There's a lot to do here and a lot to explore. So I would recommend Colombia. And then one of my all-time favorite trips of anywhere around the world was Patagonia, and particularly Chile and Patagonia, although definitely both are on the Argentina side and the Chilean side. And if you can take the time to get to Patagonia, plan for a 6-week minimum if you can. If you can go just for a week or two.
There you go. Sorry.
Really worth it. Really explore. It's such a magical spot and so untamed in many, many places. And like I said, particularly the Chilean side, but there's some amazing sites on the Argentinian side as well. So definitely research.
I've never been to any of those places, which is really, really sad to say. So now they're up on the list. Okay, great. Okay, so my last question I always ask everybody, if you could go back in time and do college over again, where would you study abroad and why?
Oh, good question. I'm actually going to go back to Turkey. I mean, I had 3 weeks there, and it wasn't enough. I got to see a lot. There's some amazing history there. I don't know that I would learn Turkish. It's a pretty difficult language, but there's so much there, and it's a good balance between East and West.
Yeah, it's a nice intersection of cultures, I think.
It is, and you get a little bit of taste of the Middle East, but it's not, you're not in the middle of conflict. The Turks are obviously not Arab, and it's a distinct region, a distinct history, but you at least get enough of a feel, and you start to sort of get involved in understanding the history of the broader region because it is so interconnected. And it really it made me curious to learn more about Western Asia and really getting to know more of that part of the world. So I think Turkey is a great central place to go, and there's a lot you can get to easily from there.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll definitely link to a lot of different study abroad programs in Turkey from the blog, and so hopefully that'll inspire a few more students to check it out like you, and they can write back to you and say, dude, you got to come back. But yeah, so we're time's up, but thank you so much, Jeff. This is Jeff Jung, founder of CareerBreakSecrets.com, and you can find him on Twitter as well. You can find him at Career Break, spelled BRK Secret. So, and I'll link to all that from the blog. So thank you so much, Jeff. It was great to talk with you, and happy days in Colombia for the rest of us slave away in our day jobs.
Thanks, bro. Have a good day.